Wadaiko Gouken and their sensei and leader, Eddie Yates. They're going to be performing some songs. They'll be giving some introductions, both the Taiko and everything else. So they're going to be full control today. So after their portion is done, we are going to be holding a question and answer session. So if you have any questions throughout the course of the day, just please type it either in the question and answer portion of the webinar or in the chat box. And then whenever it's time for the question and answer portion, we'll be sure to let Eddie know the questions so he can answer them for you. But without further ado, we hope you're able to, normally it'd say sit back and relax, but you're at your homes, right? So we hope that you can enjoy today's special performance by Wadaiko Gouken. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to them. So, yoroshiku onegaishimasu.
Hello, everybody. My name is Eddie Yates. I am the sensei here for Wadaiko Gouken Taiko group. Today, we are doing a few songs for you, demonstration. Mainly, I am showcasing my students from the group. So they have been training hard on these pieces that we are seeing today. The first piece that we played is more of a practice piece. This piece was developed to kind of help with the form, with the attitude, and different techniques in playing. So this piece is kind of like a progress. So we played this to practice our different kinds of form, and also the power and the striking techniques that we're using this piece for. The second piece we are also using, it's more of like a festival piece, it's more of a dance as you saw. So I'll carry the drum in front of me, which is called Katsugi or Kakai Daiko. So this is used in a lot of festivals in Japan, a lot of dancing, a lot of singing, and also sometimes they'll use the shinobe flute as well. Also, I have joining me today is my students from Southern Indiana Taiko. So they will be performing for us next. So they have a group out of Columbus, Indiana. And I periodically travel there to teach workshops and train them as well. So it's very great to have them joining us today as well. So as we set up for this next piece, I want to also remind you that we will be having a question and answer at the end after this next piece here. So anything that you have or anything that you see that you'd like to know about Wadaiko Gouken or Southern Indiana Taiko, please feel free to ask me at the end. So please enjoy this last piece from Southern Indiana Taiko, and I will talk to you at the end of the show. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. My name is Eddie Yates, and this is Wadaiko Gouken, and also we have guests from Southern Indiana Taiko. Thank you very much. We hope you enjoyed. ありがとうございました。ありがとうございました。Thank you, everybody, for joining us for the show. If you have any questions about the show, about Taiko in general, or about the school, please feel free to ask now.
Yes, we do have questions.
Awesome.
So the first question is, where can one buy a small portable practice Taiko?
Small portable practice Taiko. That's a very good question because a lot of us are wondering the same thing. There are a few groups that I know in the United States that make Taiko. One group in particular that we order a lot of our drums from is from World Sphere Taiko. They're out of Washington State. So a small drum, I guess, like the one you see in the back, the very small one there, I would say that would probably be the smallest one. It's called a shime daiko. And that one's very easy accessible, that you could pretty much take anywhere. The only thing with that is you would have to tighten those yourself, which usually takes 2 people to do. And you can also buy them in bolt form, and which you can kind of use a wrench to tighten yourself. And they are very, very loud. So those are the loudest piercing drums that we have in a Taiko group. So wherever you do take that, make sure that the noise restrictions or make sure the people around you know that you're going to be practicing, because we've had a lot of spaces that we've had to change because of the noise. So, yes.
Next is actually a question for Southern Indiana Taiko.
Yes. Oh, awesome. Karen or Therese or Tina. So we actually have a question for you if you'd like to answer. So this is Tina. She's one of my students from Southern Indiana Taiko, so she'll be answering your question for this one.
Stay here in case you need to help me answer this question.
Sure, no problem.
The question is, how long does it take to learn a piece like the one you played so that you don't collide with each other?
Well, we learned the piece in a couple weeks, but we've been trying to perfect the not colliding with each other. It's ongoing. But we all do a right front stance, so everyone sitting together or standing together has their right foot forward.
Okay, this next one is a multi-part question.
Okay.
The first question is, how long does it take to learn how to do the basics of playing Taiko?
This one is really depending on the person. So when I used to play in Japan, my sensei would tell me it takes about 3 years in order to be able to master the basics to start performing. So this, of course, is with a professional Taiko group in Japan. So a lot of my students, they've actually only been playing a few months, so they've been doing very, very well. It all depends on just how much you practice, how many times a week you practice, and that's pretty much it. And some people have better rhythm, some people have better physical, and if you put those two together and you have both of those, then you're going to learn fairly quickly. So I guess to answer your question, in a basic, I guess in a regular Taiko group here in the United States, I'd say it probably takes a few months just to get the basics down, and then you just start building up on that, every year after that. So
next question is, how long does it take to learn something like some of the more coordinated multiple instrument songs like yours? I guess not just how long does it learn how to play Taiko, how long does it learn to learn the songs?
So the songs itself, I would say if you have the basics down, that shouldn't take long at all. So that's pretty much just coordinating a musical piece together, pretty much. So if everybody's working in unison, you could probably learn a song in, I would say, about 3 days. So 1 week tops. So if your basics are good, your physicality is very good, and you have somewhat of a good musical background. Well, I shouldn't say musical background, but rhythm. If your rhythm is not bad and everybody works together as one in the group, I mean, you could learn a song in a week, pretty much.
More about learning Taiko, is it something you can only do in person, or is there options online as well?
Nowadays, especially since last year, there are many, many options online. I know a few online. Some of my friends in New York are doing lessons online. One in particular is Marco Leonhard. I don't know if you know him. He's a shakuhachi player, and he also has a taiko group in New York, and I think he's offering classes. Kadon is a website. They're offering many courses online now, ranging from shinobu playing to different styles of taiko playing as well.
Next question is, do you know how many taiko groups there are in the United States?
Actually, that would probably be a better question for Benjamin. There are so many groups in the United States right now, and more are popping up every year. So I would probably say roughly 500, give or take. There's probably more now, I would imagine, since COVID. There's just a lot of online information that you can find about taiko now. A lot of people are making drums out of tires and garbage cans and such to practice, and then they're starting their own group that way, and then getting funding later on, and then buying taiko drums after that. But roughly maybe 500. I'd probably say even more now.
Someone who's in attendance today was in a taiko ensemble in college and would like to get back into it. Any tips on getting over the anxiety of joining a new group?
I would probably say the more confidence you have with anything, if you're really into taiko and you have kind of that spirit of playing drums, I don't think you would have a problem with that. If you're nervous about the rhythms and song making, that's probably a different route to go. I think everybody has those kind of nerves, myself too. But as far as joining a group, I think just look at it in a fun way and just enjoy playing with each other. And probably after the first class, you're not going to have anxiety anymore.
A couple questions about the drums themselves.
Yes.
What is the lifespan of a taiko drum head before it needs to be replaced?
So the drums that are made here are made out of staves or wine barrels. Those will probably last around 2 to 5 years before you have to start replacing the heads, I would say. Depending on how long you play them, of course, too. So these drums now, they're reaching about the 2-year mark, and I'm already noticing some of them will probably have to be replaced in the next year or so. It also depends on the maker, and it also depends on the humidity as well. So when the drums get cold, and then all of a sudden they start getting humid, the wood expands, and then after it keeps expanding, contracting, expanding, contracting, and then the skins will loosen up. So that's the only problem with stave drums. So the drums made in Japan, the expensive drums, those are made out of a single tree trunk, and those will definitely last a lot longer. I'd probably say anywhere from 10 to 15 years, maybe longer than that, due to the quality of them. And of course, it's just made out of a single tree trunk, which is a lot stronger than staves. So.
Related to would you mind talking a little bit about how the drums are made? Like you talked about there, what are the heads made out of? I know you have different types of drums.
Sure, yeah. So the barrels are made, of course, like I said, out of a tree trunk, out of staves or wine barrels. The heads themselves are made out of cow skin, and also that depends on the quality of the cow skin as well. So there's different types of makers or companies out there that supply different grades of skin. So that's also a factor in the quality of the drum. The tacks that you see on the top, the black tacks there, they're called byo. So those actually have to be imported from Japan. Those are metal tacks. So after the skin is stretched on, then the tacks are nailed to hold them in place. And the handles that you see there are called kan. Those are handles. So those are optional. So they're for decorative purposes as well as practical purposes, such as carrying the drums.
What about the middle drums with the ropes?
Oh, yes. So these are called okedo drums. As you can see, those are held together by ropes. So those are tightened each time during a performance, and you can tighten those to different tones and different pitches as well. And those are also made of wood. The bodies are made of wood, and the heads are made of cowhide. These two particular drums, actually, I have a friend in Japan that is starting a company they're making, I guess, kind of like eco taiko, you would call it. So the bodies are made of paper, and the heads are actually made of tent sheets. Which is very nice because they're somewhat waterproof. So if it starts raining when you're performing outside, you don't necessarily have to stop the performance. You can keep playing as the top is waterproof. And they're very environmental friendly, of course, and you don't have to use, cow skin and such. So the idea for that is in the future, as natural resources might become a little more scarce, we could still continue to play taiko using these drums.
A question about the history of taiko.
Yes.
Historically, how long has taiko been performed in Japan?
That's also a question for Benjamin, I believe, as he's a scholar. But I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this was brought over from India into China into Japan. Is that correct? As far as how long it's been playing in Japan, I would probably say a couple thousand years. Would I be right on that? Okay. So, is the mic on? Sorry. Okay. So I would roughly say close to 2,000 years. And that was not necessarily being performed as an ensemble group. These were used more in war times and Buddhist temples, religious ceremonies. On the battlefield, it was also used to determine the size of a village. So taiko was pretty much used through a lot of Japanese daily life in that sense. And then just recently, in the 1950s, it started becoming more popular as a performing art.
Going into my own questions now, because I can answer these things. I can ask these ones.
Okay.
Would you mind talking a little more about your group? Like how often you perform, how often you have classes?
Sure. Okay. I guess just to introduce myself, those are bachi back there. Somebody's practicing, which is cool. So I have been performing and teaching a little over 25 years now. I've practiced and performed in Japan. I've played professionally in Japan and Nara, Japan, to be exact, with a group called Wadaiko Asuka Gumi. And I also started a group in Florida called Ronin Taiko with a friend of mine who is now taking over that group. And I recently decided to move back to Dayton, Cincinnati area about 4 years ago, and decided to start a taiko group again on my own. So I was fortunate enough to meet the great people here at Giyu Dojo, and I was able to start classes here again. And this was actually just last year in January of 2020. So it's a fairly new here, and hopefully it will start growing more and more and more. Sure. All right. Thank you very much.
So I'm going to move from behind the video onto on the video. Want to first off thank you so much, Eddie, and all the members of Wadaiko Gouken and all the members of Southern Indiana Taiko for an amazing performance and an opportunity, especially in this current environment, to be able to watch Taiko and watch groups perform is rare and difficult for different challenges you would think about. Eddie and I were talking about beforehand how Zoom actually does not necessarily lend itself very well to Taiko. So if you all could actually see what's looking like behind the scenes right now, there's a lot of cables, a lot of going back and forth. So we've been getting some wonderful replies from you all saying it looks great and sounds great. So thank you so much. We were all kind of worried about that. Once again, we want to thank the Japan Foundation Center for Global Partnership for helping to sponsor today's event, because they would not, this would not be possible without them. Just maybe a few plugs for what we have coming up at JASCO's, where we have a lot of online events happening. We're doing, well, actually, we have an Itagami workshop, which is full at the moment, but we may have a waiting list in place if someone wants to do that. That's kind of a Itagami is like a drawing on a postcard sort of fashion. In a couple weeks, actually next week, now I think about it, is Children's Day, Kodomo no Hi in Japan. And we're going to be doing a series of events online related to that. So we're going to have an online origami class for Children's Day. Or if some of you happen to live in the Columbus area, we're actually going to start experimenting with in-person events. So on May 8th, I believe, the second Sunday in May, we're going to be just be on site in Scioto Park in Dublin, where someone wants to do origami in person. We'll be all socially distant. We'll have masks. We'll have hand sanitizer. So if someone wants to get out, if it's a nice day, and maybe do some origami in the park, we're going to have that available. We're very excited now to announce that we are starting planning to hopefully hold a Bonodori celebration in mid-August in person. And we're working out all the logistics to being able to do that in a socially distant manner. So we are very excited by the possibility of continue offering online activities like this, but also as we can do them safely and securely, holding in-person events as well. So once again, thank you so much, Eddie, and to all the performers here today. And thank you to you all for joining us. It's raining here in Western Ohio, but hopefully it's nicer where you are. But we're getting nice warm weather again. Thank you all so much for joining us, and we hope that you have a wonderful Saturday. Thank you very much.